Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. We're in Katowice for the second day of the European Economic Conference, and I'm joined by Raymond A, Global Aviation Sector Manager at Bechtel. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
So, I'm delighted to find out more about Bechtel. Your motto is dream, design, deliver. So it sounds like you create massive projects, and I'd love to hear more about them.
We're a global engineering construction company. We've been in business for over 125 years. We do many different sectors, but I focus primarily on aviation. And in aviation, we've built some of the world's most challenging airports. We used to be airport owners and operators, so we have a full complement of the airport business, how to design, manage, build, operate, and finance airports. So it gives us a really good insight to projects like the CPK project.
Exactly. So you mentioned the CPK, which is obviously a very hot topic here in Poland. Some love it, some hate it, but what we do know is that it is massive. And I'd love to hear about your involvement and what brings you here to Poland to this conference.
Well, we have no involvement in CPK. We've been monitoring it. We hope there's a tender coming out in the future that maybe we could participate in. What I do know is projects like this are very big, they're very complex. Bechtel has a history of working on new greenfield airports. We're currently finishing up one exactly like this in Western Sydney, Australia. I'm happy to report that it's ahead of schedule and under budget, which is kind of a rarity these days. We built Hamad in Doha, we built Hong Kong. So we have a rich history of these types of projects, and they can be quite complex if you don't know what you're doing.
So are you saying that basically Bechtel would find a spot for itself in oversight, at least, when it comes to CPK?
We're very interested. We'd have to see what the delivery model is that the airport ultimately go through. But we would probably like to be some type of delivery partner working alongside of and with CPK.
When it comes to these kind of airports, you say you have a lot of experience in them. What would you say are the greatest challenges or things to look out for when it comes to the delivery of them?
Well, there's a lot of them, but it starts with the sheer scale of these types of projects. A lot of people have experience at airports doing a taxiway extension, a small concourse expansion or renovation or a new terminal. But when you're talking about a brand new greenfield airport of this scale, of this magnitude, the sheer size of it will trick you and it'll be very difficult. I mean, you may have anywhere from 15 to 20 to 20,000, 25,000 workers on site. So where do they park their cars? Where do they sleep? How do you feed them? That's just one of the problems that you tend to underestimate. There's a number of them I can talk to you about if you're interested.
Go ahead, tell us.
So it starts really with a business plan. I was on a panel yesterday talking about the airport. Dr. Philip, the CEO, mentioned that they have a business plan. I haven't seen it, but having a good business plan then translates to a concept of operations. And those two documents really guide how this airport should be delivered and how it will operate once completed. From that, what we recommend, based on what I told you earlier about not really understanding the sheer complexity of this, to hire someone like a Bechtel that has this experience to be a delivery partner to help CPK manage this. The next thing you have to look at is the design. You've got some world-class designers on board right now, but I'm an architect, and managing architects is a fine art because they always want to keep designing this grand architecture, which is great, but you have to look at the functionality of it, and you have to look at how you're going to operate and maintain it. So one of the things that we encourage our customers and partners with is to put a design freeze. At some point, you got to put the pencils down and say, this is what we're going to build.
The artists have to step away.
Yes, and a lot of times they keep designing, which leads to schedule overruns and budget overruns. So getting the design right, and that involves getting the stakeholders involved. You know, there's a lot of stakeholders, so coordinating with the different government agencies, border control, you know, immigration, customs, the police, as well as the users, the airlines, and other stakeholders to get their input to make sure that you're designing what everybody wants, and it's a compromise. But that's one of the issues, is managing the design. The second thing is understanding the supply chain. I said yesterday that it's not desirable. I think it's actually a necessity to utilize the local supply chain in building and operating the airport. What we would recommend is conducting a supply chain analysis, see what are the core strengths and capabilities of the local Polish supply chain.
So are you referring to local content here?
Yes, we're talking about designers, we're talking about suppliers, we're talking about builders. And there has to be a blend between specialty contractors and traditional contractors. What I mean by that is, again, I don't know the Polish market yet, but I doubt you have a passenger boarding bridge industry here. I doubt you have a baggage handling system industry here. And that's typical around the world. So you probably would outsource that to an international contractor. But from being around Poland for a few weeks, you have good contractors that can do a lot of civil work, a lot of building work. So what we would do is first try to understand the supply chain and then work with CPK and the designers to craft procurement packages that are more aligned to what the capabilities and scale of the local contracting community is. And that's important because once the building and the airport is finished and it goes into operation, you need the local contractors and suppliers to help maintain and operate facilities. For the HVAC systems, for the electrical systems. So you don't want someone that's in China. You don't want someone that's in Australia. So you want local content. And
so are you saying that all that has to be identified prior?
Yes.
To getting the site actually built?
No, well, you want to identify it as the design's ongoing. We would come in now and start to do that to really put the whole strategy together. And again, it's working with, that will inform us with CPK what type of delivery model. Are we going to have design build packages? We're going to have design bid build. And then there's different types of contracting, but what's best suited for the local supply chain and what CPK's business plan. So that's just one of the things you have to look out for. We talked about design freeze, we talked about localization. I think another thing you need to do is look at interface management. You're going to have multiple contracts here. So how do the contracts come together so they're not doing this, that they actually work together? That takes a lot of planning, a lot of insight. And dare I say, it takes some know-how and prior experience to know where some of the pitfalls can go wrong and anticipate those in advance. I think you have to have a good risk management program. No matter how well you plan these projects, things will go wrong. There's in the ground unforeseen elements that have to be rectified. There might be delays in the supply chain from steel being fabricated somewhere. So how do we have workarounds to be able to track these risks, anticipate the risk, and put a mitigation plan together, which is an ongoing process throughout the life of the program. The other thing you have to look at is really setting up a good testing and commissioning program. So it's one thing to build the facilities, but now you have to test the security system. You have to test the air conditioning system. So understanding what that is involved and getting the end users involved early to help in that program. We always plan to say that we like to look at the end in mind at the beginning. What is going to be at the end, and how do we then plan all the steps up front to get to the end? The other thing that we recommend, which people tend to fail, is starting early with an operational readiness, activation, and transition program, or ORAD as it's called in the industry. That's taking the building once it's been completed and making sure that everyone's trained on how to use the equipment, on normal operations, if there's an emergency situation, what's the backup plans, so everyone's competent and comfortable on opening day. A lot of airports that I've seen wait till the last minute to do that, and they always get it wrong, and there's all kinds of opening day failures. Heathrow had some major problems years ago when they opened up a terminal with their baggage system. They weren't prepared. So we recommend starting that early, like now, to be prepared for the end. And also I talked about stakeholder involvement. It's getting the stakeholders involved in that coordination. So those are just some of the things.
But that sounds incredibly serious, and it sounds like it requires a lot of people to be involved right now.
Yes, I think one of the other lessons learned is that, money's always an issue for any project around the world. And a lot of people think we'll defer hiring the competency till later.
As late as possible, yeah.
Well, that time it's like you're trying to stop the dam after the water's already coming out. So we do recommend getting someone like a Bechtel or someone else in that role now to help do all this planning, to help the more you plan in advance, the easier it's going to be downstream in delivery.
But I'm sure you can't give me an exact number right now, but just off the cuff, given everything that you've described, what kind of number of people are we looking at to ensure that all this happens?
Well, I think it depends on, I don't know the size of the existing CPK staff. You know, if CPK has a big staff, then maybe we don't need as many people. If their staff, what are their capabilities, what is their experience? So it really depends on, the role that CPK would want us to play, their capabilities, experience, the number of people they have.
But this is the first kind of airport ever built in Poland like this, so.
Well, you have existing airports.
But not of this size.
Correct, and this will be to the modern, the latest standards. I saw some of the concept design drawings. 2 weeks ago, there was a world conference in airports in Madrid. Dr. Philippe from CPK and the architects Foster's presented. It was quite impressive. I mean, you're going to get a world-class airport. And the other thing to look at is it's not just the airport. You're tying in the metro into the airport. So it's a multimodal facility, which is going to be great for the economy. It's going to be great for the region. But making sure, you know, CPK doesn't work in isolation and the rail doesn't work in isolation.
Yeah.
They need to also come together and make sure that that interface is coordinated. So it's a lot of work, but it can be done.
Assuming everything comes together at the right time.
Well, you plan for that.
Absolutely, I hope so. I see that Bechtel is also involved in a number of other things, mining, critical minerals, security, nuclear, renewables. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we're a very big company. We've been around for 125 years. We're in multiple sectors. We do just about everything, but I focus purely on aviation. So I probably am not the best person to talk to you about the other ones.
Okay. And this is your first time in Poland?
No, I've been here before.
Okay.
I met some of the CPK folks and just as an introduction to see what was going on. So very, very excited to be here, and hopefully there's an opportunity for us in the future.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, Raymond, I wish you the very best of luck, and hopefully there'll be more of an opportunity for you to work with CPK.
Hopefully. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of World Talks. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more on TVP World.